welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. We've got some semifinal games to break down and a list of players who declared or decided to go back to school from those two teams that did not advance to the national championship, Penn State and Texas. Again, probably a pretty quick episode, just two games to break down, but lots of action in these two games as well. But again, I'm not talking about that alone. Dalton Miller, how are you on this fine Monday evening?
I'm doing pretty well. Hurt my neck / shoulder in the gym, so a little bit tight up there. We're gonna be looking directly into the camera for most of this. But other than that, fantastic. We got Monday Night Football on right now. Matthew Stafford looked like an assassin on the first drive. Jared Verse looked insane for them on the second drive. And then now I'm recording this, so I have no clue what's happening.
I love it. Hopefully we just get to a point where Sam Darnold plays himself right into Cleveland Browns territory. So
there we go.
Let's talk about it. Let's go in chronological order. Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, Penn State. Notre Dame comes out on top in this game, 27-24, in a pretty ugly offensive game for pretty much the whole game.
Which we thought was going to happen.
And for all of the people who speculated about would Drew Aller change his mind if he had a good college football playoff run, the dude did not throw for over 200 yards in a single one of these games. He did not complete over 55% of his passes, or he did not average 55% of his passes completed in these three games, and he has decided to go back to school. But what stood out to you the most about this game?
Oh, what stood out to me the most? That Notre Dame defense. It's got to be. And it's got to be that, even when I'm having conversations with my buddies and they all went to Penn State and they're like, dude, like this Notre Dame defensive line, they're so big and so strong and so powerful. And I'm like, none of these dudes are 300 pounds. like not a single one of these dudes are 300 pounds. They're just dogs.
Not even if Riley Mills is healthy. Like Riley Mills isn't even 300 pounds.
No,
yeah,
it's amazing. They're so well coached. The games that they play on the defensive line are fantastic. And then the back end, they do just a fantastic job of being able to maintain over the top leverage while still being in your face and running a lot of man coverage. They mix it up. They make it look different at times, but they are a very aggressive defense, and I'm excited to see the way that they coach their corners against Ohio State, who wants to push the ball down the field to Smith. Are they going to be able to, or is it going to be a lot like in the Texas game where because Texas runs so much cover 3 over the top leverage, they didn't really have those shots, and Will Howard kind of forced those shots to him at times.
Yeah, you can kind of force a few of those shots when you can high point with Jeremiah Smith, a 6'3", 220-pound freshman who can go get anything. But we talked so much about Notre Dame's back end on defense and how good those corners are and how, for lack of a better term, pitiful Penn State's wide receivers have been. But I don't think anyone would have imagined that Penn State wouldn't have a single completion to a wide receiver in a national championship semifinals game. That is bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre to say out loud. Drew Aller, 12 of 23, 135 and an interception in this game, and that interception was bad, man. It was a bad pick. They wrote out Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, as you would have imagined that they would have in this game. Nick Singleton, 15 carries, 84 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also decided to go back to school, which is a bummer because Dalton and I both think that he is probably a top 5 back in this class. Probably day 2, top 75-ish player in the draft. But they're bringing back both of their two-headed monster, the powerful Kaytron Allen and then Nick Singleton. Tyler Warren, 6 catches, 75 yards. What's new there? From Notre Dame's perspective as well. I mean, Notre Dame's offense was Notre Dame's offense.
Yeah, it was really interesting because they didn't run the ball well against Penn State in this game. Penn State really kind of sold out on the run and did very good against the run. Now, Penn State's biggest issues were giving up big plays in the passing attack. Great House had a 50-plus yarder. He ended up having over 100 for the game. And then Williams and Evans both had a couple of big catches as well in this one. Faison wasn't as much of a factor in this game, and both Love and Price were not factors on the ground game.
No.
Neither had 50 yards rushing. Neither had, or actually, Price did have a 10-yard run, but Love did not have a single 10-yard run in this game either. So it was very slow, kind of a methodical game for the most part up until the fourth quarter. And that's kind of exactly what we expected from these two teams. We kind of expected it to be a dogfight, and it really was.
That's what they're going to want to do against Ohio State as well. The way
they
you
have
keep those dogs off the field is that you grind out the clock, you grind out the game on the ground. And so they're definitely going to try to do the same thing against Ohio State. But I can't wait to talk more about Jeremiah Love into the summer as well. That goal line run, man, was just pure. You're not stopping me from getting this football into the end zone.
Yeah.
He had a hurdle in this game as well. And he's got a freaking 8-pound knee brace on his knee as well. And he's doing all this stuff in a massive knee brace, clearly not 100%. Riley Leonard, I'm ready to accept that he's just a really, really fun college quarterback. And the way that Notre Dame is using him is complete opposite from what he was doing at Duke, where they're just like, 3rd and 1, let's just turn Riley Leonard into a battering ram and just tell him, like, put your head down. I tweeted out during the game, the Simpsons meme of like the kid head diving through the window. It's like I tweeted out Riley Leonard on 3rd and short. That's just what it was the whole game. Just like he's diving, head diving.
Which is funny because he's lauded for that physicality, but he's not that big. He's
6'4", so he's tall, but
215-ish.
Yeah,
220 maybe. But he's not a big 240-pound guy, and he's a good athlete. And
he's not Justin Fields at 6'4", 230.
No,
Like,
and all you need to know when it comes to his athleticism is that he was a higher rated basketball recruit than he was football. So the dude can move. He's a good athlete, but really interested to see how the NFL sees him as I assume a backup who can kind of do some fun things.
Yeah, for sure. Drew Aller's stat line could have been a little bit worse in this game as well, because he did have 2 other interceptions called back in this game. On the one Jack Kaiser interception was such a ticky-tack call. I was like, how do you call that this late in a national championship semifinal game?
Yeah,
it was bizarre. Anything? I mean, I thought Abdul Carter was Abdul Carter for having to exclusively rush with his left shoulder on the outside.
What a monster.
Yeah.
What a monster.
I mean, to be fair, Notre Dame's right tackle is long. He's long as hell, but like his feet are pretty heavy, and he's just trying to use that length more than anything else. But yeah, dude, unreal. A banged up shoulder. Literally can only rush from his left side against the right tackle because that left shoulder.
He was practically just like long arming him the entire game and trying to win with speed, but he was impressive once again.
Yep. Last thing to really hit on in this game are the Penn State players who decided to declare or not declare. Obviously, Kevin Winston has been hurt, so he decided to declare before the game. After the game, Jalen Reed, the other safety, has declared. Zane Durant, very, very freak athlete, defensive tackle, is going back to school. Dennis Sutton is going back to school. The edge opposite Abdul Carter. Of course, Abdul Carter is declaring. Tyler Warren hasn't yet. Tyler Warren's going to. He's a 5th year anyway. So, and then running backs, the 2-headed monster, as we mentioned, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, are both going back to school. And Drew Aller, obviously, he's the big one there as well, going back to school.
Yeah, and the Drew Aller one is interesting because Dane tweeted out that he had originally said he was going to go back to school, but he was keeping an open mind. And after speaking with the NFL, he decided it's time to go back, which is interesting to me, but also the right decision.
It is. And this just, I could talk a little bit more.
It's so bad that like the casual fan, like I was with my wife's family and they were talking about like, can they really start Aller next year? And it's like, well, Aller's going to be a first round pick next year, most likely. And they were just mind blown because when they look at the stat line, when they look at him throughout the course of a game, especially the last couple of games, it's like, this is the dude.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I
that's
think
the
that's the
problem
bigger
is you have to
question is
like,
that is he really?
yeah, you have to look at the traits, and the traits are all there, but the
But it's not
inconsistencies,
all
the
traits, and I think
inability to
mhm.
it's not always pretty. But this whole quarterback, and that was the part of him declaring was this quarterback class is bad, and we're about to talk about somebody who did declare in a bad quarterback class, probably to try to take advantage of that bad quarterback class.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have to fight off Northeast Ohio anymore. Like the kid is from Medina, Ohio. The kid is a
Mhm.
lifelong Browns fan. So like everybody in Cleveland wants him, and I'm like, I promise there are more than tools. Like this is not even the same player, obviously, not even the same play style, anything like that. But like I had this fight in 2022 with Malik Willis, where people just get overly obsessed with tools, and it's like Malik Willis and Aller's a better prospect than Malik Willis was coming out, and Malik Willis has done a good job to turn his career into like a backup. Like some team might want him as a spot starter. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Some team might kick the Packers a fourth round pick for him to see because he played pretty well in 4 games of significant playing time this year for the Packers. But
Mhm.
like we have to look past tools and like look at eyes. Look at pre-snap protections. What is he seeing? What is he calling out? Are there free rushers? Is it his fault? Like there's so much more to this that like I've had to fight that they're like, this kid is not ready. This kid is not ready. And luckily he knew and he went back. But it's probably enough to talk about Drew Aller. Let's head over to Ohio State, Texas. In this game, uh, Ohio State kept it a lot closer than they probably should have, to the
Holy
point
crap.
like, yeah, they started playing with their food a little bit, and they got a little too tight for comfort. Where Quinn Ewers didn't have to play under duress as much as you would want Quinn Ewers to play under duress. Um,
It
those
was
those running backs out of the backfield got in. Jaden Blue got involved out of the backfield, man, and they didn't have an answer for that.
no, they didn't. The minute that they said, okay, we're not going to just drop back and pass with Quinn Ewers, is when that game got real because it was just, we are going to throw it behind the line of scrimmage on every single play
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we have and that's what works. And obviously, the two blue catches weren't behind the line of scrimmage. They were wheel routes, but they were schemed up perfectly where somebody was supposed to robot and definitely did not do that. And he was running free. And those are the types of things between that and the 9 penalties, which felt like 19 penalties for Ohio State, just absolute drive killers. This game at 28-14 was a lot closer than the
I mean,
score
yeah,
and a lot closer than Ohio State, could have played this game. I mean, they could have blown the doors off of Texas
yeah.
if they would have just not shot themselves in the foot. And as interesting as Notre Dame is, Notre Dame needs Ohio State to
Mm-hmm.
play the way that they did against Texas and not the way that they played against Oregon if they want any chance to beat Ohio State. Because at the end of the day, Howard, Henderson, Judkins, Smith only had one catch in this game, and it didn't seem to matter. Tate really stepped up in this game, and I think Tate had a big drop in this
He
one
did on an RPO in
too.
the end zone too, wide
Yeah.
open off of an RPO slant.
Um,
Yeah.
and then Egbuka, like they've so many
Mm-hmm.
weapons,
Yeah.
and it's going to be really difficult for Notre Dame to keep up, especially considering how good Ohio State's defense has looked throughout this playoff run.
Yeah. That's the thing. I was gonna say, like, Notre Dame's back end scares me more than Texas, even though you have Andrew Bakuba, even though you have Jade Barron. Just the level of physicality those Notre Dame corners play with can wear you down. Even if Ohio State has the stable of 5 stars that they always trot out there, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
if Will Howard doesn't have some windows to throw into, what's Will Howard? And I got to give Will Howard, at least in the first quarter, he kind of cooled off, but that dude was absolutely fearless in the first quarter, was absolutely throwing into some windows that weren't windows, like
Mm-hmm.
some digs over the middle. Like I was texting a buddy and he's like, man, I hope he's not late on one of these because there's no window there where he's throwing this
Yeah.
football. Like he's playing fearless. Probably he's playing the best football of his career. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We got to talk about our guy who might have saved this game for Ohio State there at the end of the half, Travion Henderson. A really nice schemed up rollout screen where they didn't make it look like a screen. They got Howard out to the on the run on the roll, and then got a couple blockers out in front of him. And dude, when he saw green grass,
The vision, the patience,
this is the most explosive he's looked since he was a freshman. We've said it for
yes.
Like he is playing his best football at the right time right now. Like
if medicals check out this, I mean,
yeah,
he's RB4. I mean, he's RB4 for me anyways, but like,
are we sure he's better than Omarion Hampton?
I mean, he might.
Sure he's not better than Omarion Hampton?
He might go before Caleb Johnson. After testing, how good do we think KJ is going to test? If
KJ runs a 4.51, I think we're okay. His
Yeah,
tape is so good, man.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that don't love his tape.
Well,
like we're really high on him, but there's a lot of people that don't love his tape that have him as RB5, RB6, RB7. I've seen him at RB11. Like they're and that's the thing. Everybody sees these guys differently.
I know there's still a lot of
there are only 32
yeah.
teams. It only takes one team to fall in love with them.
Yeah.
But he is a wide zone guy with not a ton of work out of the backfield as a pass catcher. And he's explosive enough, but he's not super explosive. And he's not as good of a pass protector as any of the other three top guys. So I can see teams wanting the juice of Travion Henderson and Omarion Hampton, because if Hampton has anything, it is that first and second level juice. I can definitely see Henderson being one of the first three running backs off the board, especially with the way that he's played recently.
I think that would be my question about his medicals. Is there a reason he only hit 7 touches in this game? Is there a reason he only has 10 to 14 touches a game?
Well, Nick Singleton's the same way.
Yeah,
when you're playing
carries this past week alone.
Yeah, but like when you're playing with Quinton Judkins and Emeka Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith, and like you're not going to get.
Can you get 18 to 20 touches out of Henderson a game? How many running backs are asked to get?
There aren't many getting that many, anyways.
Yeah, that's fair.
Outside of the really top guys.
Yeah, but man, yeah, he's put it all together in the playoffs. He's playing phenomenal football. I'm coming around to appreciate Quinton Judkins for what he is. Do I think he is a patient runner? Absolutely not. Do I think he's going to make people look silly in the open field? Absolutely not. But I can get on a board with a guy who says, you need 4 yards, I'll get you 4 yards. Like, I can get on board with a certain extent to a running back like that who says, listen, man, if you need me to get 5 yards, I will do whatever you need me to do to get 5 yards.
He's like a perfectly fine rotational day 3 guy.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
That's how I feel about him.
Yeah, but he was juiced up in this game too, man. He was playing some good football, working downhill. But that's what he does. He works downhill. He's not trying to. If he sees green, he's exploding, and he's hella explosive. But yeah, he's not going to wait on it. He's not going to wait on it to try to find some creases.
No. Do you want to stick with running backs and talk about?
Let's do it. Jaden Blue.
The surprise of Jaden Blue getting 4 carries in this game and then declaring for the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they got CJ Baxter, who was hurt this year, who's a 5-star, and who everybody's like, this guy's the next. He's the next big Texas running back.
And
Wisner's coming back, and Wisner's such a dog.
Yeah.
But he averaged 2.7 yards in this game. But I think, again, that's kind of Wisner's another one of those rotational backs who's just going to beat the doors off of you. But yeah, Jaden Blue, we talked about him when we built our running back, as we used him as a receiving. I think we both used him as receiving ability for our superlative. Heck of an athlete out of the backfield.
Yeah.
He's got to fix the fumbles. Got to fix the fumbles.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't care about fumbles because I think fumbles are very, very, very fixable at the NFL.
Yeah, they tend to be like very, very like the variance of them year to year is not.
Yeah. Somebody else that we don't talk about, not in this game, but Ashton Jeanty. More fumbles than you would think, and they seem to come in spurts.
Yeah, Jaden Blue had 5 this year: 2 in week 5, 1 in week 12, 1 in week 13.
I think JT had
won
5
last
this year
week.
too.
Really?
Yeah, I think JT had 5 this year as well. Somebody I do want to talk about is he only had 2 catches in this game, but both of them, Matthew Golden and Gunnar Helm. But Gunnar Helm is it's so hard to look at a tight end and be like, yeah, like he's just going to be good at the NFL level. But Gunnar Helm is one of those guys who, like, I just think he's going to be an awesome pro. I think he's going to play for a decade as long as he stays healthy. I think he's going to average between, 600 and 800 yards a year. He's going to be a plus blocker in the run game and in pass pro. He's a good enough athlete. Like, he's just a solid freaking football player at the end of the day. And Quinn Ewers tried to get him killed over the middle. He was wide open. And he threw the ball.
The one where Sark was trying to freaking call for targeting when Gunnar Helm is 3 feet in the air. It's like, he can't reach his helmet.
No, he wasn't even close to his helmet.
No.
It was a great clean hit, and it knocked him out when it didn't knock him out, knocked the ball out when he hit the ground. But yeah, this offense, it's tough. I almost think that Sark never went to Arch because Arch won't run the offense the way that Sark wants it ran, and yours will, and Mac Jones did. And he just wants on time, get the ball to the playmakers, don't need to push the ball downfield often. And I just think that's kind of what this offense is, man. It's fun. It's creative. But at the end of the day, I can't sit here and watch Quinn Ewers and think that Arch wouldn't have been a better option to win a national championship.
Yeah. Do you think it's concerning at all heading into 2025 that Arch couldn't displace Quinn Ewers?
No, I just think Sark stuck with him. I
think there's an element of like, if he benched Quinn would have checked out. And if Arch struggled, there would be no way that you could go back to Quinn.
Yeah.
I think that probably played into it.
It could have. And I mean, that just goes to, who is Quinn, the person? And, we don't know. So
yeah,
it's tough to know. But he declared for the NFL draft. And sure, man. Sure. I don't know what his options were. I don't know what the transfer portal would have looked like for him. I assume a former 5-star, has been to Ohio State, been to Texas, probably would have gotten on his feet somewhere. But day 3 backup at best. And
at best.
He looks so labored when he's trying to push the ball. And every time there's a hint of pressure, he folds like a lawn chair. Eyes drop immediately. There's no confidence in being able to operate on an NFL timeline in a drop back passing game. I don't see it.
Yeah. So I think he speculated, like Pete Thamel tweeted out that he's expected to declare. I'm curious if he's doing the Cam Ward, Carson Beck thing. Like Cam Ward did last year. He declared, Miami upped their offer. He went to Miami. Carson Beck declared, got a little more money offered, and then went to Miami. This year, I wonder if Quinn would do that. But the question is, like, what school is looking for a quarterback, and what school would like offer Quinn Ewers $4 million to come play quarterback for them? Like, would he go back to Ohio State? Would Ohio State want him back at Ohio State? Notre Dame? Can he get into, like, that's not to say like he's dumb, but like, can he get into Notre Dame? They have some pretty rigorous academic standards. Like, if I were him, man, I'd just go home and play at North Texas. Just have fun for a year, man. Just go play it. Just go have fun for a year.
I would say SMU, but I think SMU got Van Dyke, which
did.
I mean, Ewers and Van Dyke let them. I mean, let them all battle it out.
Yeah. I did want to talk. You mentioned Matthew Golden. Dude got hurt in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Had to sit out. He sat out for a bit of this game, a chunk of this game.
Most of it, yeah.
Most of it. Came in late. 2 catches, 51 yards. But that first catch, man, that 1 yard, that one-hander along the boundary, he's just a professional receiver, man. Again, not overly explosive. There's not a lot of long speed there. Not a lot of lightning in a bottle effect with the ball in his hand. But man, like he's kind of got that Emeka Egbuka to him, where he's like, this is a professional wide receiver.
Yeah,
this is a professional wide receiver. I love Matthew Golden so stinking much, and this has been the Gunner Helm show podcast for quite some time now. But looking at Texas players who have declared for the draft after losing, Kelvin Banks Jr., no surprise there. Jaden Blue, yeah, surprise. Vernon Broughton had already accepted a Senior Bowl invite, not surprising. Yeah. Hayden Connor, starting left guard, senior. Matthew Golden did declare. Very excited. Mm-hmm. Like, I think this guy's a top 50 player. He's a top 50 player. And then Andrew McCool.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me about him. And they're like, hey, like for the Cowboys, it was like, we probably need to get him at 12. I think you could get him in. I think you might be able to get him in round 2, but I'm nowhere near wanting him at 12. He's a good player.
No.
But he's not. He's not a number 1, and you need, if you're drafting at 12, you need a number 1 or a 1A.
I think he would be great in Dallas, where you can just let CD run the freaking slot.
Yeah,
stick him out there and do his job. Yeah, but yeah, one name that hasn't declared for Texas that we need to talk about, especially after this game. And I get it; he was hurt. He didn't play against Arizona State. He got hurt against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Dude, Cam Williams was out.
Please go back.
He was out over his waist the whole freaking game. His hands were on his knees on his toes the whole game.
You can't let Jack Sawyer do you like.
Who has no bend.
Jack Sawyer is a good football player.
He is, but he doesn't have bend, and he's beating you. He's cooking your outside shoulder.
Yeah. It was not. In a
scout told me he's not gonna.
Huge moment. In a huge moment.
And it was the whole game, though. The whole game. Like, let me look this up real fast before we close out here.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to look at the pressure numbers here, because it wasn't pretty. And I don't care too much for PFF grades, but PFF gave him a 38.4 pass blocking grade on the day. Gave up 5 total pressures, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 2 hurries. That cannot be your last game before you go to the NFL draft.
No.
It can't. I mean, it can't happen. Even if like his body of work leading up to that game wasn't terrible, but you can't go, especially against guys who are like, I think the NFL loves Jack Sawyer enough to take him top 64, even if we don't.
Yes.
Like against top tier talent, you can't go out like that.
No.
You can't go out like that.
No.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
he's also the most penalized offensive player in college football.
Yeah. He just needs more snaps.
Yeah.
Makuba, awesome. I mean, he's been around for a long, long time.
Do you think he goes day 2?
No.
His frame probably worries me. He's got a nice trigger though. So I think somebody's gonna. I think you're right. Somebody's gonna like round 4 is gonna get a nice little.
I hope so. I think he's a really good football player.
He is. Alignment versatility, really good instincts.
Somebody I want to. Yes, he will. Somebody I want to bring up from the other side who hasn't declared yet. We don't think he will declare yet. He is a true junior. He is 19 years old. Sonny Styles, man. The more I see him in live viewings, the more impressed I am by this young man. Oh my God. ESPN hilariously still has him listed as a safety.
He hasn't played safety all season.
He hasn't played safety all season. He's played linebacker.
There are some people in Columbus that want him to come off the edge.
He's
6'3", 230. He probably could.
He's a freak. He's a freaking nature dude.
He is.
I'm really, really excited for him next year if he doesn't declare for the NFL draft. Which
what's crazy is he could probably put 10 more pounds on that frame easily too.
Yeah, and we could hilariously do the Tremaine Edmonds thing where Tremaine Edmonds is still only 4 years old.
It's so funny. So funny.
But yeah, man, a lot of fun. Really,
for sure. Denzel Burt left with an upper body injury. We'll see if they said they expect him to play in the national championship. Kind of a big deal. I really like Jordan Hancock for what he is, man. I think Jordan Hancock's gonna be a solid nickel.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
Yeah. Dane Brugler tweeted out he thinks all 4 of those Ohio State defensive linemen are going top 100. By the way, even Ty Hamilton.
I saw that. Thought that was interesting. I don't mind Hamilton, but I don't love him.
Yeah. He's like the 2-down guy for me. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Ohio State, Notre Dame, a week from today, as we record this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I got, man.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, we'll be back 3 more episodes this week. Until next time, this has been the Daft on Draft podcast.